one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the national anthem. Or first is the presentation of the colors.
Color guard, post!
Color guard, attention! Carry, color. Forward, march. Mark time, march. Color guard, halt. Right, left, face. Freeze it, arm.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang loud, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, who say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, arm.
Post the colors.
Post, colors. Post, colors. Freeze it, arm. Order, arm. Post. Right, face. Forward, march.
Please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our annual African American Heritage Month celebration. We are very pleased that so many of you could join us here today. This is the 29th year that this court and the courthouse agencies have gathered for this occasion. 29 years ago, the gentleman to my right was a young U.S. attorney and was tasked by then Judge Parker to organize the first Black History Month celebration, and we've had one every year for 29 years since then, and they just get better all the time. They started strong, and they keep getting stronger. With me this afternoon are my colleagues on the bench, Judge Brian Jackson to my right to your left, Judge Michael Crawford to my left to your right, Magistrate Judges Bourgeois, Richard Bourgeois, all the way on the end to my left, and Judge Scott Johnson, all the way on the end to my right. A couple of our colleagues could not be here today due to other commitments, and they will be missed. And more importantly, they will miss a very wonderful program. The theme this year nationally is African Americans and the Arts, Radiance in Darkness, Illuminating Black Creativity. We have with us today Brandon B. Lewis, who is the museum educator and public programming manager at the LSU Museum of Art. And if you've not been to the LSU Museum of Art recently or ever, I would commend it to your liking. It is a really wonderful museum in our community. We also have with us today students from Bel Air Magnet High School Color Guard who brought in the colors this morning or this afternoon. And we have by virtual attendance displayed artwork from McKinley High School. And if you've seen that in the out in the corridor, you will be very impressed by the students at McKinley High School. We are also joined by Arthur and Friends Community Choir, who led us in the singing of the national anthem. It was a lovely rendition, young lady. Later in our program, the choir will also provide additional music entertainment. They provided some music entertainment as we gathered this afternoon. I will turn things over to Judge Jackson, who will recognize several invited guests and lead us through today's program.
Thank you so much, Chief. Let me join with Chief Judge Dick in welcoming you here. This is a very special event for this court. And not just the judges of this court, but in fact, everyone who works for the court and indeed works in the courthouse. So again, we appreciate your presence here today. I'd like to acknowledge some of our court agency heads who are with us today. Mr. Ron Gath, our U.S. Attorney, thank you for joining us. Our clerk of court could not join us today, but our chief deputy clerk, Ms. Tara Madison. The clerk of the bankruptcy court, Jody Gersio. Okay, thank you, Jody. Chief probation officer and a former chair of the planning committee for the court, Mr. Clarence Rambo. Chief Rambo, thank you for joining us here today. Our marshal, U.S. Marshal Bill Brown, could not be here, but his chief deputy U.S. Marshal, Mr. Josh Wright, is here. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like also to thank our ROTC students who have joined us here today. These are students from the Bel Air Magnet High School here in Baton Rouge. The Bel Air High School has a student body of approximately 700 students. They offer courses in science, technology, engineering, digital media, and junior ROTC. The purpose of the Junior ROTC program at Bel Air Magnet High is to instill in the students the values of citizenship, service to the United States, personal responsibility, and a sense of accomplishment. Bel Air's Junior ROTC program has been recognized as an honor unit with distinction since 1983. It is led by 3 Army retirees, including Lieutenant Colonel Boyd Donald, First Sergeant Bassett, and First Sergeant Alsobrook. First Sergeant Alsobrook notably is also recognized as the 2023-2024 East Baton Rouge Parish Teacher of the Year. And he joins us today as the Color Guard Commander. So congratulations and thank you so much, First Sergeant, for joining us. In addition, we have a few honored guests that we'd like to just recognize. Mr. Mike Bailey, who's seated on the first row. Mike has been with us probably for the 29 years we've been doing this. He's been here for, I think, 25 years, so thank you for joining us. Major Reginald Brown is with us. Thank you, Major, a constable, for joining us as you have done for so many years. Way in the back, trying to hide himself, is Judge Doug Dodd. And yes, Judge, you didn't think we were going to call you out like that, but it's typical of Judge Dodd. He's so modest. He wants to sit all the way in the back and not call a lot of attention to himself. But we are grateful for your presence here today. We're also joined by Mrs. Godfrey, Mrs. Cynthia Godfrey. Now, her husband, Brace Godfrey, was the very first speaker at our very first Black History Month program back in 1995. So, Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us here today. We're also joined by Mr. Michael Jackson. I think Mr. Jackson snuck in with us, former Senator Jackson. Thank you so much. And Mr. Mike Jefferson is with us. He's now retired from the U.S. Attorney's Office and is also a former chair of this committee during his service with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Judge Luke Laverne is with us today. Judge, thank you so much for joining us. General Harry Skip Phillips is with us from the Taylor Porter Law Firm. We appreciate you being here, and Mr. David Rubin, whose father served this nation so honorably, not only in the military, but also as a member of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and before that, a U.S. District Court judge, which is by far the most important category of judges, right? Mr. Todd Sterling is with us. Mr. Sterling has helped the court clerk in a number of ways, and so Todd, thank you for joining us. Dr. Charles Vincent is with us today. Dr. Vincent, I don't know where you are, but a real academic. I mean, he has written so many articles and books about the history of the state, and we're honored by his presence here today. Mr. Michael Walsh is a former president of the Baton Rouge Bar Association. I believe Ms. Sylvia Witherspoon, that ace reporter, is with us, as she is every year. We're so grateful that she attends every year, and thank you for joining us. Mr. Luke Williamson, who is now the president of the Baton Rouge Bar Association. Mr. Williamson, thank you for joining us. And there's so many others who are here today who we simply don't have the time to recognize. But again, let me thank all of you for your presence here today.
Okay, I would like Judge Bourgeois to introduce our musical guests.
Thank you, Chief. It is my pleasure to introduce the Arthur and Friends Community Choir. This group was formed by Arthur Grimion back July 31st of 2008 on the principles of love, ministry, and outreach. Members are of various ages, ethnicities, and religious backgrounds, united with the same purpose, which is to give God praise. They represent several cities such as New Roads, Baton Rouge, Baker, Bayou Gula, New Orleans, and Hattiesburg, Mississippi. The Arthur and Friends Community Choir is more than just a choir that sings. They support and sponsor community outreach programs and events. Throughout the past 15 years, they have been afforded many opportunities to minister through song. They've participated in various showcases around the country. They were named Community Choir of the Year for the Sounds Awards in 2023. Nominated for 4 Rhythm of Gospel Music Awards and received 2 nominations for the 2023 Avidity Awards. And if you're like me, I had to Google that and found out that it is essentially the pinnacle of independent gospel music. So quite an honor to have them here for us, and we're grateful to hear your musical offerings. Thank you.
Yeah. you. That was wonderful. Before we move to our introduction of our speaker, Judge Jackson has a couple more people that he would like to recognize.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. And I just noticed some other guests, valued guests, in fact. Mr. Gordon Polozola is with us here today. Thank you for joining us. His father was the former chief judge of this court, Judge Frank Polozola, and was just a staunch supporter of this program. So thank you for joining us today. Mr. Don Casu is seated all the way in the back, our former U.S. attorney. Thank you for joining us. And, you know, just like Mike Bailey, our good friend Jim Inkster is here every year. Thank you so much, Mr. Inkster, for being here and supporting this program and all that you do for everyone in the state with Talk Louisiana. And finally, I have to recognize someone who's very, very dear to all of us. Sadly, a few years ago, we lost one of our most beloved colleagues, Judge Jim Brady. And although he's not here with us, Mrs. Karen Brady is with us. So what's the beautiful thing about Mrs. Brady's presence here today is that Judge Brady was a leap year baby. He was born on February 29th. And he would always talk about, well, I'm only 16 years old today. I'm only 17. And I was asking Mrs. Brady, well, I think the judge would have been 18. No, he would have been 20 years old today, right? So we really miss him, but we're so thankful for your presence here today. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It now becomes my great privilege to introduce our guest speaker, and you are really in for a treat. Brandon V. Lewis is a celebrated contemporary artist, an educator, and a distinguished museum professional from Baton Rouge. His biography, or I'm sure a very abbreviated version of his biography, is in your program. Mr. Lewis presently serves in the role of museum educator and public programming manager at the LSU Museum of Art. He is dedicated to education, community engagement, and the celebration of African American culture, and has been the recipient of multiple awards and honors for his artwork. Remarkably, his art has been showcased at Art Basel, one of the largest, most prestigious art exhibits globally. Mr. Lewis earned his degree in history with a focus on African American studies and fine arts from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Prior to his current role with the LSU Museum of Art, he taught fine arts and African American studies with over 25 years of experience as a contemporary artist. It is our great privilege, and it will be your great privilege to hear from Brandon V. Lewis.
I come as one, but I stand as 10,000.
Thank you.
To the champions of justice, community members, colleagues, and friends, I say good afternoon. Thank you, Chief Judge Shelley Dick, for that gracious introduction. I would also like to thank Middle District of Louisiana for this invitation, especially my dear fraternity brother, Attorney Jamie Flowers, and Ms. Erica Hives Johnson for being hands-on throughout this entire process. You all are doing a great work, and to set aside time to curate a program of this nature speaks volumes on the character and commitment to community this office holds. Can we have another round of applause for the multi-talented Arthur Grimion and friends? I was hoping to go before Arthur and friends because they are a hard act to follow. But here we are. I have my beautiful mother sharing with me today, a steadfast supporter in my journey. Thank you, Mama. Radiance in darkness, illuminating Black creativity. The national theme for this year's Black History Month celebrates Black artists and the contributions they have made to their communities and this country and the world over. It is no secret that Black creativity can be found throughout every thread of tapestry that is the American story. But the origins of these threads were deflossed in disaster, reeled in resilience, twisted in turmoil, dyed in disenfranchisement, and weaved in woeful wonder. But through it all, the story of the Black creative is a story of triumph over tragedy. We find ourselves pressed for time to fully explore the vast tapestry of contributions that African American artists have woven into the fabric of our country and the world. Indeed, attempting to encapsulate this rich narrative in a single moment seems the impossible task. However, if you will allow me a fleeting indulgence, let us embark on a brief journey through the key moments that celebrate the radiant brilliance of Black creativity. When the first of the enslaved were brought to this country, shackled, stacked like bonded books of burden, though their bodies were bruised, their spirits broken, and their minds filled with uncertainty, they still possessed the same spirit of survival that those great kings and queens of Africa possessed. The ones who came before them carried that on for generations. They are the reason that the very shackles that held them in bondage, the whip that tore their flesh, did not crush them, but instead gave them a way for innovation and creativity. And even those who chose the Atlantic over America serve as monuments of sacrifice and now rest in the depths of that very same sea. Black art, Black dance, Black writing, Black painting, Black sculpting, Black weaving, Black cooking, Black singing were all born in the fields of bondage. They became manifestations of resilience and defiance against oppression. The illuminating light that makes up the torch of Black creativity is comprised of sparks, flames of those men and women who challenged the system of oppression, those early laborers who at the very least, but did the most, said, though you have attempted to strip us of our identity, though you have taken our drums, we have our hands, we have our feet, we have our voices, we have our minds, we have our hearts, we have our imagination. And with these things, we will continue to create. We will build the torch and add to the flame. And the light from that flame will guide generations and inspire them to create in the face of unsavory situations. And their commitment to creating will continue to build the fire. In the crucible of slavery, among the fields of cotton and tobacco, within one-room cabins, within the shadows of plantation homes, we saw the birth of the Negro spiritual, a genre brewed in sorrow's kitchen and served to the lips of a people that had to find some way to bring hope to an otherwise dismal chapter in American history. These spirituals not only conveyed messages of freedom, but also laid the foundation for rich artistic legacy. And they did just that. When those ancestors sang, "Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh to let my people go," they were not only sending a message of freedom, but they were making a way for ragtime, jazz, the blues, country music, and gospel to be born. Those spirituals were building the fire, but not just the spirituals. There were other forms of art as well that forged and cultivated by artists of color during this time. Joshua Johnson, the first professional African-American visual artist to work in the United States, born into slavery in the mid-18th century, his work, his creativity, helped build the fire and open door for renowned American artists such as Robert Duncanson and Henry O. Tanner. David Drake, also known as Dave the Potter, stands as one of the most revered and prolific American potters of the 19th century. Born into slavery within pottery-making families of the Edgefield, South Carolina community, Drake defied the oppressive notion that the enslaved were incapable of producing anything of intricate and refined craftsmanship. With his hands as his tools and clay as his medium, Drake not only crafted exquisite pottery, but also shattered stereotypes and prejudices with each masterpiece he created. Phyllis Wheatley Peters, the first African-American author of a published book of poetry, born free in West Africa, kidnapped and sold into slavery, purchased by the Wheatley family, and went on to have her work praised by the likes of George Washington. Wheatley, in her short 31 years on this earth, helped build the fire. Johnson, Drake, and Wheatley were all keepers of the flame during one of the most darkest moments in American history. Those unsung authors of the Negro spiritual, whose innovation and creativity helped guide countless people to freedom by song, helped build the fire. Those hair braiders who braided maps into the heads of women to aid in the journey to freedom were artists and helped build the fire. In Louisiana, when the tie-in laws were created that said women of color were not permitted to wear their hair out in public, Those early designers of fashion took elaborate textiles, rich dyes, beads, flowers, and feathers, and turned something that was meant to diminish a people into a triumph, which we still see remnants of today. They helped build the fire. On the heels of emancipation, with the establishment of Fisk University in Nashville, we saw the birth of the Fisk Jubilee Singers, children of men and women who still had the taste of bondage on their lips, took to the roads of this country using their artistry through song to raise money for the university that was in peril of closing. Because they helped build the fire, Fisk University still stands today. During those Reconstruction years of this nation, Black creators found themselves in newfound arenas, especially writers who were creating narratives that would shed light on the ills of this country that were still casting shadows of oppression in the lives of those who were newly freed, such as Elizabeth Keckley and Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, whose poetry was based on her travels among the freed people in the Reconstruction era South. They helped build the fire. During this pivotal period, the vanguards of progress of people of color, W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, Ida B. Wells, and Mary Church Terrell stood at the forefront of the battle. They waged not only for the advancement of their communities, but also cultivated a balm to begin to heal the deep wounds of injustice that afflicted this nation. They helped build the fire. My friends, it was the Black artists who stood at the forefront of the battle for change and equality in this country. As students of history, we recognize that even as the echoes of freedom rang across the nation, new vehicles of oppression were being constructed. With the dawn of the new century came the birth of Jim Crow. Yet the Black artists persisted, forging new avenues to combat the evils that threatened to engulf their people. Amidst the trials of oppression and hatred, there emerged moments of profound joy. Nowhere was this more evident than during the Harlem Renaissance, a cultural explosion that illuminated the artistic landscape of the 1920s. Despite the turbulent seas of adversity akin to those that inspired the haunting melodies of the Negro spirituals, a generation of artists found inspiration. As W.E.B. Du Bois eloquently described, the talented 10th and the new Negro emerged, symbolizing a renaissance of Black creativity and intellectualism that reshaped the cultural landscape of America. In the heart of the Harlem Renaissance, the writings of Langston Hughes and Countee Cullen emerged as beacons of artistic brilliance. Hughes, in his poetry and evocative prose, captured the essence of Black life in America, celebrating its beauty and resilience while unflinchingly confronting its injustices. Cullen, on the other hand, infused his poetry with elegance and grace, exploring themes of race, identity, and love with profound depth and sensitivity. Together, their works added rich layers to the vibrant tapestry of the Harlem Renaissance, inspiring generations to come with their literary mastery and unwavering commitment to truth and beauty. They helped build the fire. With the works like Their Eyes Were Watching God, Zora Neale Hurston captivated readers with her vivid portrayals of Black life in the American South, infusing her narratives with a potent blend of folklore, dialect, and raw emotion. Her contributions to literature not only enriched the cultural fabric of the era, but also paved the way for future generations of Black writers to boldly explore their own voices and experiences. Hurston's legacy remains an enduring testament to the power of storytelling as a vehicle for truth, liberation, and celebration of the human spirit. She helped build the fire. It was also during this moment in our history we saw the origins of gospel music born. Gospel is deeply rooted in the African-American religious experience, but it was a pioneering work of Thomas A. Dorsey that transformed spiritual music into vibrant genre that it is today. Born out of the hardships of the Great Depression and cultural shifts of the early 20th century, gospel music emerged as a potent fusion of African-American spiritual traditions, blues rhythm, and Christian hymns. Dorsey helped build the fire. During the Civil Rights era, artists of color played a pivotal role in the advancement of their communities. Through their creativity and activism, they became agents of change, using their art to amplify the voices of a marginalized people and challenge the status quo. Musicians like Sam Cooke used their song as anthems of protest, inspiring people to rise up against injustice and demand equality. Visual artists such as Jacob Lawrence and Romare Bearden captured the struggles and triumphs of the civil rights movement in their powerful paintings and collages. bearing witness to the resilience and determination of those fighting for freedom. Artists like James Baldwin and Maya Angelou fearlessly confronted the realities of racism and discrimination in their literature, sparking dialogue and fostering empathy across the racial divides. Together, these artists of color paved the way for progress, galvanizing a movement that would forever change the course of history. They helped build the fire. During the Black Panther movement, artists of color made a significant impact by using their creativity as a means of resistance, empowerment, and cultural expression. This era, which emerged in the late 1960s, was characterized by the heightened sense of racial pride, self-determination, and pursuit of social, political equity for African Americans. Visual artists played a crucial role in shaping the aesthetic of the Black Power movement, creating iconic imagery that challenged mainstream narratives and celebrated Black identity and heritage. Emory Douglas, the Minister of Culture for the Black Panther Party, utilized his powerful graphic design skills to produce bold, provocative artworks for the party's newspaper, The Black Panther. His illustrations depicted the themes of revolution, solidarity, and community empowerment, serving as visual representations of movement, ideology, and goals. He helped build the fire. Writers and poets also made their mark during the Black Panther movement, using their literary talents to challenge prevailing stereotypes and give voice to the experiences of African Americans. Authors like Amiri Baraka and Audre Lorde wrote powerful essays, plays, and poems that explored themes of Black identity, resistance, and solidarity. Their words served as a form of cultural resistance, challenging dominant narratives and affirming the dignity and humanity of Black people in the face of oppression. Overall, artists of color played a vital role in the shaping of the cultural and political landscape of the Black Power movement. As we journeyed to the fourth quarter of the 20th century, we saw the birth of hip hop in the South Bronx during the 1970s, which marked a pivotal moment in the history of American culture. Emerging from the ashes of economic decline and social unrest, hip hop quickly became a powerful artistic and cultural movement that would revolutionize music, fashion, art, and language. One of the foundational elements of hip hop was rap music, which provided a platform for artists to tell their stories, share their experiences, and critique social and political injustices. Rappers like Grandmaster Flash and the Sugar Hill Gang pioneering the genre, laying the groundwork for future generations of artists to build upon. They helped build the fire. In the 21st century, African-American artists continue to wield immense influence across various artistic disciplines, using their platforms to amplify marginalized voices, challenging systemic injustices, and advocate for social change. From music to acting and beyond, these artists have played a pivotal role in shaping cultural conversations and advancing the cause of justice and equality. In the realm of music, African-American artists have continued to push boundaries, innovate, and dominate charts across genres ranging from hip-hop, R&B, pop, jazz, and beyond. Figures like Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar, and Janelle Monáe have not only achieved commercial success, but have also used their music to address issues of race, identity, and social justice. Through powerful lyrics, imagery, and performances, these artists have sparked conversations and inspired actions around issues such as police brutality, racism, and the Black Lives Matter movement. In the world of acting, African-American artists have made significant strides in challenging Hollywood norms and expanding opportunities for representation and diversity on the screen. Actors like Viola Davis, Chadwick Boseman, and Issa Rae have not only garnered critical acclaim for their performances, but also have used their platforms to advocate for greater inclusion and representation in the entertainment industry. Through their work in film and television, these artists have brought complex and nuanced portrayals of Black life to mainstream audiences, shedding light on issues of racial inequality and discrimination while celebrating the richness and diversity of Black culture. Beyond music and acting, African-American artists in the 21st century have also made their mark in visual arts, literature, activism, and beyond. Figures like Ava DuVernay, Coates, and Kara Walker have used their respective mediums to challenge the dominant narratives, provoke thought, and inspire actions around issues of race, identity, and social justice. Through their artistry and activism, these artists have helped to shape cultural conversations, mobilize communities, and drive positive change in society. They helped build the fire. In moments of national reckoning, such as the Black Lives Matter movement, African-American artists have been at the forefront of the fight for justice, using their platforms to amplify the voices of the marginalized, raise awareness to injustices, and demand accountability from those in power, whether through protest songs, powerful performances, or thought-provoking art installations. These artists have helped galvanize movements, spark conversations, and inspire actions towards more just and equitable future for all. African American artists in the 21st century continue to make invaluable contributions to the cultural landscape, using their creativity, talent, and platforms to advance the cause of justice, celebrate the richness of Black culture, and inspire change in society. In conclusion, since our ancestors first felt the cool touch of this country's soil under their shackled feet, they used their gifts and talents to build a torch, start and keep the fire of creativity ablaze for generations. I ask the question to you under the sound of my voice. What are you doing to build the fire? Are you sitting on your gifts? Have you shelved them in your library of procrastination? Have you left them to spoil and sour? What will happen to the flame if we do not do everything in our power to continue to build the fire? Yes, these are dark and uncertain times, but these are not times that history has not seen before. We, the creatives, the artists, must do everything in our power to use our work, our voices to illuminate our communities with rays of hope and equality. We must drive out the darkness until the close of our day. And 100 years from now, when we have gone to our mansions of rest, let the historians write that we helped build the fire. Thank you.
Thank you for those illuminating words, Mr. Lewis. We appreciate your being here to build the fire. At this time, Judge Johnson will present certificates to those who have participated in today's event.
Right there. Right there. No? Yeah.
So do I have a thing before we recess?
First, I'd like to present a plaque to Mr. Lewis. You have educated us, inspired us, and challenged us today. Thank you for helping to write the story today. This certificate is for the Bel Air Magnet High School Junior ROTC. As you heard from the comments today, this is a distinctly American event, and your contributions today, you came in the door and created that seriousness and solemnity that this occasion warranted. Thank you so much. I present this certificate to memorialize your contribution. And finally, to the Arthur and Friends Community Choir. This was also a spiritual event, and thank you so much for lifting us up with your beautiful voices today. Again, this certificate commemorates your contributions today.
Before adjourning, I am given to understand that the Arthur and Friends Community Choir has another selection that they would like to present to us. Okay. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. As we
Amen.
conclude our program, the court would like to call on the Bel Air ROTC to retire the colors.
Color guard, attention. Carry colors. Right face. Forward march. Mark time, march. Color guard, halt. Left face. Present arm. Request permission to retrieve the colors.
Retrieve the colors.
Order arm. Post. Present arm. Order arm. Retrieve colors. Post. Present arm. Order arm. Right face. Forward march.
Be seated. As we conclude our ceremony, let me again thank our speaker, Brandon Lewis, for sharing such wonderful, enlightening remarks. On behalf of the judges of the court and the entire federal courthouse community, thank you for being part of this year's celebration. To our musical guests, Arthur and Friends, and the Bel Air High School ROTC Color Guard, we are grateful for your participation in our program. And let me thank members of our planning committee. First, I would be remiss if I did not thank Judge Jackson, for his ongoing leadership over these last 29 years. He's been the common thread that has allowed us to bring this kind of event and to do it with more and more precision and dignity every year. So thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Chief.
Our chair this year and last year was Erica Hives Johnson, and I want Erica to stand. You did a wonderful job. Erica was assisted by Trinika Augustus, Elizabeth Breda, Jay Broussard, Chastity Bird, Jamie Flowers, Justin Jack, April Leone, Kel Martin, Megan Shields, and Shannon Traylor. Thank you to each of you for helping us put this program together for the benefit of our community. If there is nothing else to come before the court is in recess.
All rise. Court is now in recess.